Hello, everyone. So good to see you all. Welcome. I know we've got lots of people starting to join us here. Really quick, let me just introduce myself or reintroduce myself. My name's Jody. My name is Jody Carsoni, and I have been with Barton for about 4 years. And I'm super excited to be joining the webinar with Dr. Saunders, and Joe is here today. Just really jazzed to be here. I've been working behind the scenes, and so I'm really excited to be here because working behind the scenes, I've had a lot of opportunity to talk with Dr. Saunders and just to listen to some of his teachings, and I always learn something every time. So this is a really special place for me to be. Also, I do want to wish our veterans belated Happy Veterans Day. So if you are a veteran, thank you so much for your service. We at Barton Nutrition appreciate you so very much. So as usual, if you would please, as you're joining, if you just give us a hello and a welcome, let us know where you're watching from. And then maybe since yesterday was Veterans Day, if you're a veteran and you'd like to share your service, the branch of service, and maybe the number of years you served, we'd love to hear all about that as well. So before we get,
Both of my grandparents were veterans. My
yes,
my mom's father was in the Navy in both World War I and World War II when he was living in San Francisco. And so when they bombed Pearl Harbor, he was called out, and they put him on a ship and sent him out to Hawaii. And
wow,
my dad's father was in the infantry in World War I, went over to Europe, and then World War II, he was stateside the whole time. But yeah,
wow. Yeah, that's good to hear. And Joe, didn't you say, didn't, isn't your father a vet?
Yep, he was in the Navy for I think 4 years in the Korean War on a aircraft carrier. So
wow.
yes.
I've got a couple special service people in my family. My husband served both of my brothers. My youngest brother retired after 20 years in the Army, and my son is, gosh, completing a little over a year, and he's stationed in Hawaii. So vets are definitely special to our hearts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
We have
right.
a promotion real quick too.
Yes.
I think it goes through tomorrow. If people buy 3 or 6 bottles of Cinechroma, we're donating 3 or 6 bottles of Cinechroma to veterans locally here in Sioux Falls through our friend Kevin.
Oh, I was hoping Kevin would be involved with that. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing
Yes.
to hear. All right. That is excellent news.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as everybody's kind of jumping on and saying hello and telling us, I see some service out there. Love to see that. Just want to give you a quick reminder, a couple of housekeeping items here. Even though Dr. Saunders is an actual doctor and he's an amazing doctor, please remember that we bring you these webinars. They're brought to you for informational and educational purposes. We don't want this to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment that you might receive from your physician or another qualified health provider. So he is amazing. He's here to answer our questions, but please just remember that he's not your doctor. He's an amazing doctor, though. And if you do have questions, please make sure you're dropping them in the Q&A section here, and we will get to as many of those as we can today. So today's topic is going to be about reversing type 2 diabetes naturally. And Dr. Saunders has worked with countless patients on blood sugar management, and he has some really great information to share with us. So Dr. Saunders, I want to get you started off with a question. Like, let's just kind of go real baseline here. Like, what is actually going on in the body when you're with if a person has chronically high blood sugar? And what are some of the earliest warning signs that people either miss or maybe they tend to ignore that might indicate they're kind of moving in that direction?
Okay, that's a great question. So, starting off, what's going on in the body? It's really important to understand that we use the word diabetes for two different opposite illnesses. There's diabetes type 1, which is where the pancreas does not make enough insulin. So there's no insulin production in the pancreas, and you don't have any insulin, and sure, your blood sugar goes up because the sugar, glucose, cannot get into the cells. Without insulin, it will not get into the cells. So what happens? People die of starvation no matter how much they eat. So that's really important to understand. That's type 1 diabetes. Okay, so then we have type 2. And type 2, we use the same word diabetes, but it's the opposite illness. Type 2 is too much insulin, too much sugar, too much fat, too much of everything. It's you're overflowing. So we use the analogy of a sink, right? You have in your kitchen sink is not working very well, and slowly, gradually, it's getting clogged. And so now you have this clogged sink and the water's on, and the sink's starting to fill up. And you don't realize that it's filling up. You know, you're not in the kitchen. The water's on and it's filling up. And then so you walk into the kitchen, and the water is spilling over the sink onto the floor. And so you call the plumber. Oh my gosh, I got water. It's spilling on the floor. What am I going to do? He's like, well, duh, get a mop. Start cleaning it up. So you get a mop and you start cleaning, and you're just squeezing out the mop, and you're mopping up that water as fast as you can, and you're just keeping up with it, but more is coming and more is coming. And you call the plumber going, it seems to be getting worse. There's like more water coming over, spilling over the sink. He goes like, well, duh, have your wife come with a mop, have two people mopping. So then you have two people mopping, and it's working at first, but then as more water is spilling over, he's like, you call the plumber, well, get your kids in there with a mop, get some more mops in there, and bring your friends in with mops. And so now you've got all these mops, and you're mopping up and squeezing out the mop, and the water's spilling over the edge. And is it working? No, your floor is getting flooded. Your kitchen's getting flooded, and it's moving into the bathroom on one side and the living room on the other side. Your rugs are starting to soak up the water, and it's not working. And you're like, what the heck? What do I do? And what's the obvious thing to do? Well, shut off the water. Shut off the water. That's like the first thing to do. Is that the obvious thing to do? Well, you know what? That's the way medicine runs today. That's what we do in medicine is we're taught in medical school, don't look at the water, just mop up the floor. And that means like you have sugar spilling into your urine. You have glucose that it's so full, you don't even know it's there. And it's spilling into the urine. And so you call your doctor and you say, Doctor, what do I do? I'm like peeing all night long. I have to get up 5 times a night to pee. I'm not getting any sleep. What do I do? Let's test your urine. Oh, you're spilling glucose into your urine. Let's mop up that glucose. And so then it works for a little while. You're sleeping a little better, and then it starts getting worse again. And so you call up your doctor, and the doctor says, "Let's put another mop in there." And each mop represents a drug, right? The drug's just mopping up the glucose, mopping up the glucose. Does your doctor ever talk about shutting off the glucose, like stopping it? No, they never talk about that. That's not even an option. So what's actually happening is your cells of your body, you have 20 to 50 trillion cells in your body, and each one of them is using glucose for energy. And many of them store energy as glycogen, and they fill up with energy. And as they're getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and they reach the top and they go, okay, we're done. We're full of glucose. We can't take in anymore. So they stop making insulin receptors. And when they stop making insulin receptors, then you can't get glucose into the cell anymore. So it stays in the blood. And then when it stays in the blood, it starts going up in the blood. You don't see any of this. All of this that's going on, you have no way of knowing about it. Unless you do a test, a blood test, you're not going to know. And then you start peeing a lot because it's gotten so high that your kidneys are going, we can't hold on to all this glucose anymore, and starts spilling into the urine, and water goes with it. So you're going more and more and more. And because of that, then you notice it. So sometimes that's the first thing people notice is frequent urination. I have to get up 5 times a night, and I'm not getting any sleep. I can't get back to sleep. This is horrible. So then they end up going to their doctor for that. Doctor says, aha, you have diabetes. And then get a mop, right? Get on a drug. That's just a mop to clean up the glucose that's spilling. Doesn't do anything. So what we do is entirely different. It's completely outside the medical paradigm. So instead of using a mop to clean up the water on your kitchen floor, you're going to actually shut off the water. Just shut it off. That's all. We'll worry about unclogging the sink in a minute, but right now, all we're going to do is shut off the water, and that's phase one of the program. So, if you wondered about the Diabetes Solution Kit, it's a beautiful program, and you know what? We wrote this years ago, 10 years ago. We wrote this, and it was more than 10 years ago. It was unique. Like nobody was even thinking about this. Nobody even knew that the cells were filling up with glucose and that they were shutting off their insulin receptors so that insulin couldn't work anymore. So that then the blood started spilling urine or glucose into the urine. They didn't even know that. It wasn't even a thought. So we started this program, and it's really, really simple. Anyone can do it. So you get to eat. We don't stop you from eating. We just say you're going to shut off the glucose because it's spilling, right? And your cells are full up. So you're up to here with glucose. It's time to just shut off that water, right? And that's all it is. Phase one of the program is a 20 gram a day. So you still get glucose. You only get 20 grams a day of glucose that you eat. And that's not enough for the energy of your body. So your body starts using up all this stored glucose that it has. The liver's got it stored, all your muscles have it stored. And so you're walking around just doing your daily activities, using up that glucose so that your fuel line is going down, 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 down. And then so what's gonna happen is eventually it's gonna get down near empty, and your cells are gonna go, oh, we gotta turn on some insulin receptors. So it starts making insulin receptors again. So now you can bring glucose into the cells again. And that's unclogging the sink. So when that fuel level gets down to near empty, then you unclog the sink, and that's when your cells start making those insulin receptors so that you can bring more fuel, glucose, into your cells again, and then everything starts working again. So it doesn't work like immediately. It doesn't work just because you went one day without eating glucose. You gotta use up all of that. So if you're exercising, you're gonna use it up faster. If you have more stored, it's gonna take longer. Everybody's different. No two people are exactly alike. So the program fits anybody. You can do this for a week. You can do it for a month. We had somebody doing it for 6 months, and he goes, okay, why isn't my blood glucose going down? I've been doing this for 6 months. And we looked at what he was doing, and he was still insulin resistant. Why are you insulin resistant? It turned out he was eating sugar-free gum, chewing on sugar-free gum every day, like all the time. The taste of sweet causes insulin release, blocks the use of fat for energy, and increases your insulin levels, and it doesn't allow you to use that up the tank. So that's kind of important. So everybody's a little bit different. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. So basically, then when we're talking about reversal, that's unclogging the sink. That's what we're trying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Got it.
that's the point at which the cells are now making insulin receptors again.
Okay.
That's the
Makes sense.
unclogged sink.
Makes sense. Okay, so I know a lot of times that people are told by their doctors that type 2 is lifelong or it's a life sentence. They're just really, there's nothing they can do about it. They just need to live with it. Now, I know that you've got some really amazing stories that say that is not true. Oh, I'm getting you excited. You're nodding. Okay, so tell us about that. Let's just go to the horse's mouth on this. Can it be reversed? And what does reversal actually mean medically? And like what stories or evidence do you have to kind of back this up?
Okay, so First of all, whenever anybody tells you that it's not possible, what they really mean is, I am ignorant of the possibilities.
Mhm.
And that's all it is. It's just pure ignorance. So when somebody says it's not possible to reverse that, what they're saying is, I don't know how to reverse that. That's all. So if you just look at it as that's a simple way to look at it, then your next question when somebody says that's impossible, then you go, well, then that means that you don't know how to reverse it, right? Right. Okay. So who do I talk to that does know how to reverse it? And so we have here so many examples of so many people who have done this kind of a program, and essentially we start off with a very low carbohydrate diet, and we have multiple people who have reversed their diabetes. I've had people in my practice. I had one person who I gave him the diabetes solution kit. He had diabetes, sleep apnea. He was overweight. His blood pressure was high, and he said, "I need to get rid of this. You know, I don't want to have a doctor. I don't want to have a primary care doctor." So what was happening was he was going to his primary care doctor, and every single time he went, it was an argument. They were like that. He was like, "Okay, I want to reverse this," and the doctor says, "You can't reverse that." And then the doctor started forcing other things like, you have to take this medication, you have to take that medication. And he says, I don't want your dumb medications. I just want to get rid of this. And so it was this constant sort of battle that he had with his doctor. So he came in to see me and said, okay, what can I do to reverse it? So I gave him the diabetes solution kit, and he just started page one and went through each step. And there's more steps than that. You know, I'm just giving you the basic outline, but you start off with, what is your why? Why are you doing this? And why are you eating? Why did you gain weight? Why did you get diabetes in the first place? And you got to understand your own motivations and who you are first, and then you can start on the reversing process. So it's a bigger picture than just the part that we give here. You really need the book, and you really need to start on page one. So so he did that. And so he started in the book, started on page one, went through the whole thing. And in a matter of 60 days, he was like off all his medications. His blood pressure was normal. He didn't have sleep apnea, and he didn't have diabetes. So he went back.
Amazing. How
So he
long did
went
you say? 60 days?
60 days, yeah,
Wow.
in two months. So he went back to his doctor and he said, you know what? I don't have diabetes anymore, and I don't need you anymore. And the doctor says, okay, bye, fine, bye. Do you know what surprises me about that? Is I've had a lot of people with this kind of thing where they go back to their primary care doctor and say, I did what you said was impossible. Now, if someone came to me and said, you said this was impossible and I did it, what's my first question? How did you do that? I want to know how you did that, because
Yes.
I have other people that have these issues,
Yes.
and I want to know what you did. Do you know what they never ask? How did you do that? They don't ask.
That's very sad. Very disappointing.
Never. They well, not never. Actually, have had a couple of doctors ask. The patients come back and tell me, "Oh yeah, my doctor wanted to know how I did that." Yeah. So
Okay, so other than diet change, and if we know that the medication has a lot of the negative side effects, and there are ways to do this naturally, are there certain nutrients or compounds that you've seen that can help people manage their insulin sensitivity? I know you've talked about chromium and cinnamon extract. Tell us a little bit about how that can help.
okay, so anybody that has type 2, where they're insulin resistant, yes, it's a dietary thing, but you also have to consider that there are nutrients that are not in our diets that make us have insulin resistance more easily. It makes us more susceptible to insulin resistance. So, for example, like you just mentioned, chromium, if you don't have enough chromium, then you don't burn fat efficiently, and you could become insulin resistant pretty easily. And in fact, if you were deficient in chromium, you could have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, only because of that deficiency. And we've had a couple of people that I suspect that was their issue, where they came onto this program and they put in the chat. They said, yeah, I went on Synachroma and my diabetes went away completely. Like my blood sugar came back to normal and everything became normal. I think that was because they were deficient. And so we put together this supplement called Cinachroma. It has cinnamon in it, and that's just to make you more sensitive, make your cells more sensitive to the insulin, so that you could bring the sugar in more easily, the glucose into the cells more easily. And then chromium, and vanadium and selenium, vitamin D all help you to use sugar properly in your body. And that's really important because if you can't use the glucose properly, if it's not functioning well, if the things aren't like moving through, these are things that are important for the enzymes that we need to use glucose for energy. So we put together this supplement because I looked at a lot of other supplements and we had partners, with other supplement companies. Okay, what about this one? What about that one? And most of them were like, they had like 25 or 30 ingredients, and they have what we call fairy dusting. And that means they have a little teeny bit of each one of them. And so you look at the number of things and wow, there's a lot of vitamins in here. And it's got bitter melon and ashwagandha and all this other stuff in it, teeny bits of each one. And I say, yeah, that's okay, but there's not enough chromium in there. There's not enough vanadium in there. This isn't enough to actually help somebody who was deficient in it, for example. So we put together that it has enough. When you look at the vitamin D, it's 5,000 units, and that's a full day's supply of vitamin D. That is a physiologic dose, and that's going to help you your insulin receptors be more sensitive. It's got 200 micrograms of chromium. It's the right dose of everything, so that if you have those issues, that's going to help.
Thank you. All right. I also did drop in the chat our link to if you want to shop Cinechroma, and then we also do have a discount code in there for 25% off. So that is in the chat for you to see. We have a question that's come in from Michelle, and she says, my doctor told me that I have too much chromium. What's too much?
It's possible to get too much chromium. What's too much? Well, you do a blood test, and depending on the lab, it'll be a little different as far as too much. But they take a bell curve, they take an average, and they figure that 95% of people are normal. And then if you're 2.5% too high and 2.5% too low, so if you're on the high side, then they consider that too high. In some cases where they have toxicities like, lead or something like that, it'll be a different program. But with chromium, you actually need it. And so I don't know. See, I don't know if you're actually too much or if you just have, you're on the outside of the bell curve, because sometimes the bell curve is shifted down because there's too many people that are deficient. So, yeah, look carefully at that and find out if you have an optimum level, or if you actually do have too much. Because if you have too much, then it's something you should avoid.
All right. Thank you for that. All right. So we've got a kind of a testimonial and a question here for you from Emily. Emily says, I'm a former diabetic who went through Dr. Saunders' diet program, and I have taken the suggestion Barton supplements, and I do a 72-hour fast each month. I am now considered pre-diabetic and have been for over a year. I have lowered my blood sugar substantially, average 123, but still have a difficult time keeping my resting blood sugar below 100. Is there something that I need to address at the cellular level to improve my blood sugar to the level of a non-diabetic?
Okay, so there's several possibilities. So if you think about like the picture that we gave of the sink overflowing, right? If the sink is still full, and you add a little bit of water, then it's going to overflow a little bit. And so I think probably the best thing to do is to empty the sink. And that a great thing to do would be exercise. You didn't mention how much exercise you do, but just for the general information for everybody, exercise uses up the glycogen, the glucose that's stored in your muscles, and it allows for cycling of these nutrients so that you use them by exercising, and then as you eat you bring in more, and the cells in your muscles take up that extra, and so your glucose doesn't go high when you're fasting, when you're resting. I think adding exercise would be a good idea. Gosh, the 72-hour fast once a month is an awesome idea. And then being careful not to have things like artificial sweeteners or things that are really high in sugar.
All right, you've mentioned fasting a couple times. We had a question from a previous webinar. It says that you referenced a book on fasting within the last 3 months. Do you remember the name of that book, and do you remember what it was?
Oh man, I read so many of them. Let's
Or
see.
what's a good book on fasting?
Well, if it was a woman, there's a book called Fast Like a Girl. Um, Gosh, I don't recall the name of the author. She's Mindy Pels. It's actually a really good book for women because because your hormones are cycling, there's like the best times for you to fast, and then there's the worst times for you to fast for the same reason. So the men don't cycle, so that's why it's not fasting for boys. But Fast Like a Girl was one of them. Um, let's see. The Fasting Cure was a useful book. Yeah.
That's good. That's great. All right, let's talk about some other factors. A lot of people are surprised, to learn how other things can affect. So like how important is muscle mass?
Oh, muscle mass is so important. You guys, I hope, one of the things that's like really big right now, and we're going to have a whole webinar on this, is these GLP-1 receptor agonists, this Wegovy and Ozempic.
Those are
And
everywhere right now.
I know they're everywhere and everybody's talking about them, and this is like really good. Like people are trying to lose weight and get their diabetes under control and all that. And so what happens is people lose weight with them, and the reason they lose weight is because they're not eating, because they lose their appetite. That's one of the things that these medications do, is they shut off the appetite. Now, your normal natural hormones, GLP-1 hormones, do the same thing, but they last for 2 minutes in the body. Like when you release this hormone, it lasts for 2 minutes. And so you keep releasing it, and then but as soon as you're not releasing it anymore, it's gone. Whereas the injections that you get, the prescription medication, lasts for a week. One injection lasts in your body for a week. And so what does that mean? Well, that means it's stimulating constantly for a whole week. Whereas, whereas when you are doing it naturally, you get stimulation for a short period of time, minutes to maybe an hour or so, and then it goes away. So when you're fasting, it goes away. And then so that your appetite comes back. So this suppresses your appetite for long periods of time. And everybody says, well, that's a good thing, right? Well, yeah, but it does other things too. So it really causes the release of insulin. And one of the effects that happens is you lose about 40% of your lean body mass. That means muscles. So people that are losing 100 pounds, that means they lost 40 pounds of muscle. And that's actually not helpful. So I don't recommend these medications for people, although there is a good way to use them, and we're going to discuss that in a future webinar.
I'm looking forward to that. Sounds very interesting. All right. Let's see. So Melinda has a question. She says that she's on dialysis, which works on a sugar solution. Would this affect my blood sugar? I've been fasting for 3 days, but my sugar readings are still high at 10.
10. Okay. 10 is that's pretty high. Um, gosh, that would equate to like 200. It's pretty high. Between 4 and 5 is normal. And so I think 10 is like the equivalent would be about 200. So yeah, that's pretty high. Yes, they use a sugar solution. Yes, that's the dialysis will definitely affect your blood sugar. But still, even with that, if you can have insulin sensitivity, if you use up all of the glycogen, all the stored glucose in your body, and so it's still possible to improve that number too.
All right. All right. And then Sid wants to know, does it matter whether or not you take all the supplements together, like specifically the chromium, the palladium, vitamin D, etc.? Are they just as effective if they're taken at different times of the day through different sources as long as you receive the daily levels?
Yeah, yeah, and that's fine. And even if you miss days, that's okay. It turns out that taking something very regularly, your body kind of gets not immune to it, but accustomed to having it, and doesn't absorb it as efficiently. Your body becomes very efficient when you do it like um, irregularly is a better way to say it. So if you did it 3 or 4 times a week, that's fine. Different times of the day, that's fine. Take it with food. Any of those should be taken with food because they're better absorbed. Generally, just so that you know this, the things like that are bioflavonoids and minerals and vitamins are best taken with food because they're absorbed better with a meal because that's when your body turns on all the machinery that's required to do that absorption. Whereas amino acids are different. Amino acids compete for absorption against each other. So if you want a certain amino acid, you're actually better off taking the amino acid on an empty stomach. If it's protein, that's different. You want to take that with food because that all that digestive juices you need to digest the protein and absorb the amino acids. Whereas if you want an individual amino acid, you should take that on an empty stomach.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some more of the other factors that affect, like sleep or stress reduction. How do they affect glucose control?
Okay, sleep is so important. If you don't sleep, you are stressed, period. There's just no way around that. Sleep is that important. And so if you were to look at all of the things that we think are really important for our health, we want to be healthy, right? You want to be able to do stuff. I was medical director of a nursing home for 12 years. And during that time, I live in Santa Barbara. There's a lot of very high-powered people in this town. And some of them end up in a nursing home. And so you have, this guy is a famous artist and he's got his own gallery downtown and all that. And this guy ran this company, this oil company. We have a bunch of oil rigs out in the ocean there near us. But you know what? If your brain doesn't work, if your body doesn't work, then who cares? Like you can't do anything with that. You can have everything in the world, but it's not good if you aren't able to use it, right? So you want to be healthy. So what we think of all the things that affect our health. Okay, diet and exercise and all things that we've been talking about, supplements and drugs, surgery and all that stuff. And everything that we think about amounts to maybe 20%. What's the other 80%? What if, that affects our health span and everything? What's the other 80%? It's stress. And so if you're stressed, you can overcome any great diet. You can have the perfect diet. If you're stressed, then you're going to still die of heart disease or whatever the weakness is of your body. And so, you think, well, I'm not going to have heart disease because, I eat salads every day, or I eat a vegan diet, or I do the Dean Ornish diet or whatever. No, you know what? If you're stressed, you could still die of heart disease. And if not, then you're going to get cancer because stress suppresses your immune system and allows cancer to grow. It allows infections to happen. It allows inflammation to happen. Chronic stress is inflammatory. And guess what a lack of sleep is? It's stress, and it's a lot of stress. And so if you're not sleeping, then you're stressed. People who say, and lots of studies have been done, and I've been one of them. I was one of those guys that said, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And that I
think
should,
it's so
and
important.
and that I only need 5 hours of sleep. That I'm good. I'm good with 4 to 5 hours, and I'm good. Wow. I was falling asleep in meetings. I was falling asleep in church. I have fallen asleep more than once in front of a patient when just two of us are in the room. I'm talking to him, and I have fallen asleep right in front of him before. And then the big thing that happened was I was driving my convertible Mustang on the freeway, just minding my own business. It was a beautiful day, warm sun, warm air, and I fell asleep. And
That's scary.
oh, it's crazy. And so I went off the lane. I hit somebody in the lane and woke up. Luckily, nobody died in that, which often happens in people like that. And so I said, okay, that's it. I need to sleep. So I started looking into sleep. I got me a sleep monitor. That's what this is right here. And I started looking at my sleep and started reading all these books on sleep. You know what? Sleep is really important. And if you don't sleep, that stress is going to cause diabetes, even if you didn't have diabetes. It's going to make you insulin resistant, raise your insulin level, cause more weight gain. So it's important. This is really big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. We have a question about hypoglycemia. What happens if you have hypoglycemia, but you're not diabetic? Is that too much sugar or not enough protein and carb balance? What do you do to keep getting low blood sugar?
Um, did I freeze? No.
You,
Okay,
yes, you did. Either you
I
did or I
did.
think you did.
One of us
Did
did.
you hear the
Okay.
question?
Yes,
Okay.
hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia is not a small problem. It's a big problem. And it's damaging. Hypoglycemia can damage your brain, can damage your body. It's really important. So if you're getting hypoglycemia because you have excessive amounts of insulin, then that needs to be dealt with. Why do you have this excessive amounts of insulin? Do you have inflammation in your pancreas or cancer in your pancreas? Or do you have a higher than normal output, or do you have somatostatin problems? There's finding out why is the key to knowing what to do. You don't know what to do until you know why. So hypoglycemia is really, really important. Find out why your blood sugar is getting low.
Okay, great. All right. So Lily wants to know why do type 2 patients have to take insulin shots?
Okay, a type 2 patient should never get insulin shots. Never. This is not well, some should have it and some should. No, 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 never. Because type 2 is always hyperinsulinemia. And hyperinsulinemia is the hallmark of type 2. So if you add insulin, then you're making the problem worse. you're actually worsening the problem. You're going to cause more damage by doing that. So insulin should always be given to type 1 patients, people that have diabetes type 1 who have a lack of insulin. So you have to document a lack of insulin. And then if you have a lack of insulin, yes, you have to do injections of insulin.
Yeah, there can be definitely a lot of confusion between type 1 and 2. Yes.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate that we use the same name for these two opposite illnesses.
Definitely. All right. Stella wants to know what causes blood sugar to drop so low, especially in the middle of the night. My sensor wakes me up showing it's dangerously low, below 3.8. I'm on metformin.
Okay. Um, the reason it happens is because your stomach and intestines are empty by that time, and you're not absorbing any glucose. And so you have high insulin, and the insulin shuts down something called glucagon. And glucagon is the hormone that tells your liver, hey, the glucose is getting too low. Start making some glucose. And so it rises. So it's a problem with insulin resistance where you have this, spiking high blood sugar, insulin goes up, but then you can't make glucagon and the sugar drops down and it can't come back up because the normal mechanisms that keep it balanced are not working properly because of the insulin resistance. So the way to handle this is to not allow your blood glucose to go up. That's why we use this in the diabetes solution kit of the very low carbohydrate diet. So you get 20 grams of carbohydrates a day, and that's not enough to spike your insulin levels. You can eat fat. Fat does not cause insulin to be produced. So that you're not getting these high insulin levels that's going to drop your blood sugar in the middle of the night.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay. We have a question about shingles from Allison. What can you take naturally for shingles? I heard that olive leaf would help. Anything else?
Okay. What I do is I give people a series of shots of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12, even if you're not deficient, it has an anti-inflammatory effect on nerves and it helps nerves to function better. And then at Barton Nutrition, we have something called Nervala, and it's specifically for repairing peripheral nerves, neuropathy. And shingles is a neuropathy. It's a virus that gets in the nerves that causes damage to the nerves, and they need to heal. And so the two things in Nervala, benfotiamine and alpha lipoic acid, are things that help regenerate nerves. And that's, we made it specifically for diabetic neuropathy. And we know it works. A whole bunch of people have come back and said, wow, my neuropathy's gone. But I give it to people with shingles too.
All right, that's great. Okay, so we're getting a lot of questions about different supplements. So I am going to drop in the chat the link for Navala, and then I'm also going to put some information in there. We do have a cheat sheet that if you email support@bartonnutrition.com, we can send you. It kind of tells you what to take, when to take it, because sometimes that timing can be tricky, how much. But someone wants to know how many different supplements can you take in a day? Can we take too much, or how many different things can we take?
Okay, look at it this way. Supplements are food. So if you're taking fish oil, that's oil that they actually took from a fish. If you were to eat the fish, you would also get the oil. And so why do we take supplements if we could get it in food? Well, part of the problem is like we can't always get it in food. So like let's take Synachroma for example. If you were to just take the elements of Synachroma, how much cinnamon extract does it take to actually affect your insulin sensitivity? We have a 10x concentration on that. That means you would have to eat 10 times more. So you'd have to eat grams of cinnamon
I think I have a video of Joe trying to do this.
to equal to okay, so and that's just the cinnamon part. Now, what about something like chromium? Well, chromium's not easy to get in foods because our soils are depleted of chromium. And so in the United States, our foods don't contain sufficient amounts of chromium. So if people are eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, they should get enough chromium, but most people in the United States don't. So there's a deficiency of chromium that's fairly common. Selenium is another one. Selenium only comes from high selenium soils. So we test the foods. There's no selenium in the food. So are you going to get it from your food? No, you have to get it from a supplement, or you have to get it from food that's imported from somewhere where there's high selenium in the soils, like Eastern Brazil. You can eat Brazil nuts. Why? Not because the Brazil nuts like selenium. They don't need selenium at all. They don't care whether there's selenium there or not. They just happen to be grown in soil that contains a lot of selenium so that the nuts have selenium in them. So yeah, you can get it from Brazil nuts, but so you either have to be very careful about, what foods you eat so that you can get the right nutrients, or you have to supplement. So, having said that, how much food do you need to eat a day? Well, you got to eat enough food. How many supplements do you need? I don't know. And that's where the problem comes in. If you're eating really good food, there's probably only a few supplements that somebody would need. And that would be like fish oil would be one, just because it's very hard to get omega-3. If you're eating a lot of flax seeds, chia seeds, and fish, you probably don't need fish oil. But most of us in the United States do. Um, Selenium would be another common one. Iodine. Iodine is not in our soils. You're not going to get it in your food. So unless you're eating seaweed salad, you're probably not going to get enough iodine in your diet. And goiter is a common problem, especially in the Midwest. They did a study 15 years ago on girls in high school that already had goiter, enlarged thyroid gland from a lack of iodine. And it was like 12% of them. It was, a significant 1 out of 10 already has goiter in high school, this kind of problem. So how many supplements do you need? Okay, so the ones I recommend. So everybody I think should be taking fish oil, selenium, vitamin D, iodine. Those are just something that like you're not going to get from food, right? Everything else you technically can get from food. So how much can you take a day? Well, I have this guy. He is 92 years old. And he takes, I forgot how many, but very near 100 supplements a day. He's taking it 3 times a day, taking handfuls of pills at a time. And I said, dude, you don't need that many supplements. And he goes, I'm 92 years old. I'm traveling the world. I feel great. Why do you want to take it away from me? I'm like, okay, if you win, go ahead,
Take
suck them
away.
down.
He's
And he
doing something
does.
right, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, but he's literally traveling the world. He went to India a couple of months ago, and he's going back again next month.
I want to know which ones he's on. Get back with that.
All of them.
Okay, good to know. Use that discount code, right? All right, Suzanne wants to know what nutrients would she be low in if she has restless legs? Anything to help with that? And she says she's postmenopausal, if that helps.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, restless legs is a type of neuropathy. It's actually a neurotransmitter, a deficiency of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Um, so that the muscles don't rest. They have to move. And it's that feeling of I just gotta move. And for most people, it happens and you move a little bit and you're fine. You cross your legs and then you cross your legs the other way, and it's not a big deal. But for some people trying to go to sleep with restless legs and you can't stop moving because you just have to move again and move again, you can't rest and relax. They don't relax. It's a dopamine issue. And so it's not a specific nutrient. There's an herb I often recommend for people, mucuna pruriens, has dopamine in it. But on top of that, make sure you're getting like B vitamins The methylfolate or methylation could be a problem. So check your homocysteine. If that's high, then fix that. And B vitamins of all kinds. So like a B complex, especially a methyl B type supplement would be really good for supplements. But check that. So like check your MTHFR, check your B vitamin levels, and find out why you have that restless leg. Because if you don't, if you allow it to progress, if you don't fix it or do fix the problem, the underlying problem, if it's a toxin, for example, and you continue to be toxic, then it can progress to movement disorders like Parkinson's disease.
Oh, okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Catherine is wanting to know a little bit about exercise. So she says, do everyday activities like housework and, going out shopping, moving around like that. Does that count as exercise?
That counts.
Yes, I need to hear that.
Every step you take counts. It's important. Yeah, so I don't ask people how much exercise they do anymore. I used to, and then people think, well, one time somebody said to me, yeah, oh yeah, I have a gym membership. And then there was a long pause. I'm like, well, do you use it? She goes, well, no, I haven't been there yet. How long have you had it? A year. So she had her gym membership for a year, but she hadn't yet been to the gym. And that's what she counted as exercise, was going to the gym. Well, so I ask people now instead, what is your activity level? What is your level of physical activity during the day? Because some people, they're on their feet all day at work. They work on their feet all day. They're moving here, moving there. My brother is at Lowe's and he's moving boxes and he's getting a lot of exercise every day. So he comes home and lays around, and mom says, "Hey, you're laying around all day." And he goes, "Mom, I work all day." He goes, "Oh." She goes, "Yeah. Oh, good point." See, so if your work is like physical and you're moving around and doing stuff, that counts.
Absolutely. Every step counts. We need to remember that.
Yeah.
All right, we have a question about our lean ACV product. The person wants to know, how limiting is it to not take the lean ACV product? It upset my stomach. I haven't tried just taking one and gradually building up yet. Also, what other times would it be okay for me to take it? Because 2 hours before bedtime was difficult with my schedule.
Oh, that's interesting. So, so I wonder, are there any stomach problems? Because the lean ACV is vinegar. It's a powdered vinegar, so it's the acetic acid essentially. But the vinegar is what we call a short chain fatty acid, and so it is an acid, but it's a weak acid, and it's something that you improves the function of the intestines. Like you need these short chain fatty acids for things to function in the intestines, and that's why vinegar has become an issue. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, you got to take your shots of vinegar and all that kind of stuff. So the lean ACV is to add that into the stomach. Okay, so try this. If you take it before a meal, like just before you eat, like before dinner, um, then that will add the short chain fatty acid, and then the food on top of that. Well, you need the acid to digest the food anyway. So then you wouldn't have the acid reflux, and it wouldn't be a problem. It's kind of interesting though, because we use that also for the reflux remover.
Oh yeah, the reflux
Um,
reliever. Yes.
right, reflux reliever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's my favorite supplement that we have. It works really well. I love that one.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question about sleep and stress, then another one. So then what vitamins or minerals can I take to help with sleep and stress? Because I never seem to be able to fall asleep. Anything you can say
Okay.
for that?
Okay. So the sleep it's so important, and it's so individual, because like there isn't like a drug you can take or a pill you can take or a supplement you can take. But sometimes people find things like lemon balm. I had somebody tell me lemon balm made all the difference in the world. Most people tell me, didn't do anything. I've had other people tell me magnesium is wonderful. And like if I take my magnesium, I fall asleep and sleep all night. Wow, that's great. I've had women go both ways with progesterone, where they take progesterone before bed and they're just like, oh, sleep like a baby. It's great. And other women, they take progesterone and they go, didn't do anything at all. So it's not like sleep is one thing. Like, why don't you sleep is it's a big deal. And so, balance your hormones is an important thing. It's kind of common for women, they go through menopause and they lose those hormones, and they just don't sleep and they get anxiety and they get more stress. And it's like, just because they don't have the hormonal support anymore.
And this is
Um,
actually a male asking this question too. So
oh, it is? Okay. Well, I'm giving general information.
I'm glad you
So,
are. Yes, yes,
so,
yes. I just don't want to
so
leave our men out.
So personally, you may not want to take progesterone, but actually, men need progesterone too. So you have those things measured. And so I already mentioned like things like lemon balm and that. Um, I've had people take that's women too. Calcium D-glucarate is something that helps you to process estrogen better, detoxify it. Um, um, Let's see. Okay. So here's another thing about sleeping pills. People say, well, what can I take to sleep? Is probably not the best way to look at it. If you, when I read, because remember I told you, I got this and I read a whole bunch of books on sleep, and the experts on sleep will tell you, to a man, every single one of them is going to tell you the same thing. Don't take a pill, whatever the pill is. So even like Unisom or Benadryl, over-the-counter stuff, and especially not any prescription sleeping medications, they do not give you good sleep. Okay, so avoid caffeine. Don't have any caffeine anytime during the day. Some people don't process caffeine well, and it's about 1/3 of the population. And so they have caffeine. If they drink, 1 cup of coffee in the morning, they're going to still have caffeine at 10 o'clock at night because they don't process it well. So, some people can drink a cup of coffee right before bed and sleep all night and have no problem. But so that's one thing to look at is that an issue? Caffeine can be an issue. Getting enough exercise during the day, enough to sweat. So doing like HIIT, we actually had a bunch of videos. We still have those, Jody? The videos on the HIIT training,
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to check.
exercise videos. Um, and those that kind of thing is really good exercise for uh, improving sleep at night. You get better sleep at night. Another important thing, have a same time every day. I go to bed every single night at 10 o'clock, plus or minus 15 minutes, but
That's
right
good.
in there, 10 o'clock.
Schedule's super important. Your body gets used to it. Train your
Scheduling.
body. We train our infants to sleep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that
Mhm.
training, that scheduling, your body anticipates sleep. Oh, it's getting time to go to sleep. I'm getting ready to sleep. And so if you never get ready, if you're hyped up and you're watching this crazy video and then you go, okay, now I want to sleep. And you're going, wow, I'm not even tired.
Mhm.
Uh, so getting prepared for sleep.
Mhm.
There's, what's his name? Johnson. Um, had a video on sleep. He has the record for the most days on 100% sleep score. He has the record for like Brian Johnson.
Oh,
Thank you, Ryan.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. Brian Johnson. So he has a record for the most sleep days. And so he was talking about, how do you sleep? Well, he gets up in the morning, he has the bright light. He exercises in the morning, not at
Mhm.
night. And then he said, the thing that made the difference was he had to move his eating back and he moved it back to 3 o'clock, and that was okay. That was better. And then he moved it back to noon. When he got to 11 o'clock, he said consistently, so he eats between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., and that's it. So,
Wow.
so
Interesting.
a narrow window of eating,
Mhm.
because if he ate later, then he didn't sleep as well, didn't get as much of the 100% sleep. So, sleeping, it's a big deal, and it's really important. So,
Frozen.
Uh-oh.
The
He's frozen.
video quality is fantastic, though.
It is. Ryan
Yeah.
just also dropped in here that he said that this, is it Brian Johnson? That he also stopped drinking fluids at noon. That could be tough.
Yeah.
That could be very tough.
there you
Well,
go.
oh, there
There.
we go. All right, Dr. Saunders, you froze up there for a second. So we're going to take
Sorry.
that as our cue here to wrap things up.
Okay.
I want to do one really quick, one final. I want to kind of circle around here and bring back, I want to have a hopeful message. What is the most hopeful message that you would like people to take away about managing or reversing type 2 naturally?
Oh,
What's the hope here?
here's the thing.
All right.
It's possible and anybody can do it. So even though your doctor said it's impossible, it is not impossible. Anybody can do it. Type 2 is completely reversible because your body still makes insulin and you still have energy and you still have everything functioning well. In fact, type 2 means your body's responding appropriately to all the amounts of everything it's getting. It's just toxic on stuff. That's all.
I love that. I love that. Perfect hope. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you,
All
Dr. Sun.
right.
We know how busy
Okay.
you are and we appreciate your time. I'm going to let you get back to your patients while we wrap things up here.
All right.
In just a minute, I'll let you all know what we're going to talk about next week. I'm pretty excited about it because the timing is perfect. But first, I do want to let you know about a couple ways that we are here to support you on your health journey, especially if you're a bit overwhelmed with some of this information you received. I know it can be a lot to take in. So, we are here for you and we want you to succeed. And so I did mention earlier, we do have that free cheat sheet. If you're taking our supplements that definitely email our support at bartonnutrition.com and have them send that to you. That is helpful. And then we also have a coaching option for you. If you haven't done this yet, you can schedule a free call with one of our expert coaches, and they'll take the time to go over your unique situation, things like your current goals, the supplements you're taking, your nutrition habits, whatever challenges you're facing, and then they're going to help you come up with a complete game plan for you. So they'll help you identify what's working, what's not, give you some next steps to follow, and just kind of help you map things out. So we can't stress enough that this is just one of the most important things that you can do, and it's free to you. So I'm going to drop that link here in the chat, and that's free for you all. So please feel free to do that, and the spots fill up quickly. So go ahead and grab a time that works for you. So next week's topic, we're going to be back next week. We're going to be gearing up for holiday foods as I'm planning out my Thanksgiving meal and my holiday baking and all the things. I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. So next week, we're going to talk about overcoming cravings and the brain chemistry that goes along with that. So that is what we will be doing next week, same time, same place. And I can't wait for you all to join us on that. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you back here next week. And I'm going to drop our coaching link right now, scheduling for you right here in the chat. So anything else you want to end with, Joe?
Great job, Jody. Fantastic. Excellent job. And yeah, I can't think of anything else.
All right. I just dropped that link out there in the chat. And so next week, I think Cheryl's going to be back with us. She took a little time off this week. I believe she's in Tennessee, enjoying some of the beautiful colors and weather, and probably maybe a little chilly since she does have that Florida blood in her. But we will look forward to having her back here next week. So thanks, everybody. And we will see you next week and answer more questions.
All right. Bye,
All
everyone.
right.
Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.